Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is now the third best-selling Nintendo Switch game out there, despite only releasing at the beginning of December. That's according to Nintendo's Q3 financial results that document the company's performance and earnings for the 9-month period that ended December 31st.
2018
According to those numbers, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate sold 12.08 million copies just between its December 7th launch and the end of the month, skyrocketing it above other Switch mainstays like The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and Splatoon, to become the platform's third best-selling game. Mario himself still claims the number one on the true slots. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is the best-selling Switch game to date, with 15.02 million copies sold. Super Mario Odyssey follows just behind that with 13.76 million copies. Ultimate, meanwhile, has already more than doubled the lifetime 5.35 million sales of its predecessor Super Smash Bros. For Wii U, surpassed the 9.45 million of Super Smash Bros. For Nintendo 3DS, and is close to eclipsing the lifetime 13.29 million copies Super Smash Bros. Sold for the way back when Awesome Games didn't quick ranged $2.39 million for the Prevent Cancer Fund 80 Under-Injured's latest speedrunning swan run. The charity event kicked off on January 6th and ran for a week. During that time, a team of volunteers sailed through 133 titles, including familiar faces like Crash Bandicoot, Castlevania, Donkey Kong Country, Tropical Freeze, Jak 3, God of War 2nd, Metal Gear Solid 2, and The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. More than 200 people attended at 2019 in Rockville, Maryland, while the event's Twitch stream peaked with around 221,000 concurrent viewers. Since 2010, Games Done Quick has raised over $19 million for various charities around the world, including Doctors Without Borders, the Organization for Autism Research and Care. Those curious can among you can learn more about the event over on the Games Done Quick website, where you will also find a highlights reel and live stream archive. Valve has made room for developers to link to their social media accounts on the Steam listings for their games, giving devs a way to direct their Steam audiences to their YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch accounts from the sidebar. As iCode partners, Thomas Pitot, and developers have pointed out on Twitter, the newly introduced section is still a little buggy in its early days, but for the most part, it offers devs a visible and standardized way to share official social media information. Devs can find the new option in the edit section of a game's Steam page, and Valve notes that it authenticates linked accounts both to verify ownership and to pull basic information such as follower counts. While it looks like social media links need to be set individually for each game on the Star DLC will automatically display the same social media links set for full games. Things to know: it is in the edit page section of Steam. It requires you to be logged on Steam Community. FB linking is blocked. You cannot choose the page to link connect with FB account, with only one page linked. Image of a Steam page with info at
H3 课
are for the help. Pick Twitter, Comwerpa. Today, the team behind Call of Duty published a blog post celebrating the fact that the Ed Group has named a Call of Duty game as the #1 best-selling console game of the year. A decade straight. The streak starts with 2009's Call of Duty Modern Warfare and ends on last year's Call of Duty Black Ops 4. While the Ant Group's market data is notoriously incomplete, the numbers are pretty reliable when you are looking at console games, especially console games that, like Call of Duty, still sell a lot of physical copies. It's no surprise that a Call of Duty game would sell well, though series sales have slipped in the past. But it is interesting to see the company cross the finish line on this decade-long streak with Black Ops 5, which is significantly unlike any other game in the series. It famously has no single-player campaign, for one thing, and it's the first Call of the Tips game to be sold on Battle.net instead of Steam. Plus it has a no Battle Royale mode, Blackout, and late last year a special discounted Battle Edition of the game was put on sale last year that cut out the game's co-op zombies multiplayer mode in favor of just offering classic multiplayer and Blackout. Mad Max Games, acclaimed platformer Celeste, has sold over 500,000 copies since launching back in January. Game director and designer Matt Dawson broke the news on Twitter and promised to update Celeste with some new farewell levels in 2019. First-month programmer Noel Barry initially created a prototype of Celeste for the Pico 8 virtual game console during a 5-day game jam. That version of the game has since been dubbed Celeste Classic and contained 30 challenging levels designed to test the skills of platforming aficionados and speedrunners. Eventually, Dawson and Barry decided to turn their prototype into a full-fledged release and brought the finished product to the Nintendo Switch, X1, PlayStation 4, Windows, Linux, and macOS earlier this year. This interview is part of our Road to DF series. You can find the rest by clicking here. The Haunted Island, a frog detective game. The Haunted Island, which has been nominated for Best Student Game of 2019, follows a nice amphibian detective to an island of spooky, mysterious, and tearful animal friends. Gamasutra spoke with Grace Bruxner, developer of The Haunted Island, to learn about what thoughts go into creating a welcoming community for players to visit with the game, the silliness that came with trying to make noir a little less serious, and the power behind a smile. I am Grace Bruxner and I am the creative lead on The Haunted Island, a frog detective game. I made the majority of the game, including art, narrative, and design, with programming by Thomas Boca, and a wonderful soundtrack by Dan Golding. I have made a few games before. The best known are probably The Fish Market and Alien Casino, which were both 3D museum diorama-style games. Alien Casino specifically brought me into a more public eye, and was exhibited at a bunch of festivals and exhibitions worldwide, which was very cool for a tiny act like me. I studied for the past 3 years, doing game design at RMIT, and made The Haunted Island during my final year capstone project, graduating shortly after. Also, at the start of my second year, I got a job at the Melbourne-based games company League of Geeks, and I have been there for almost 2 years now. It started with wanting to make a game about a frog detective, because I thought it deep fun to have a game that was like Lone Noir, but way less serious, with the same style of music and story, but nothing bad really happening. I told my partner Tom about this idea in mid-2017, and it kinda stuck around for a while. I made a plan for a game set in a beach town, where something had been stolen and there would be multiple endings, depending on who you thought was the culprit. That scope was way too big, and I wanted to scale it down for a style and mood test, and that's where The Haunted Island began. Originally, I had scoped it down so much that it had almost no interaction at all besides talking. But once I started making the game, I realized it was fun to make it a weirdly elaborate game with multiple cutscenes. I use Unity and Maya for all my 3D games. For this game, I started out by making the island, populating it with trees, rocks, grass, and water, as well as a first-person camera controller. This was to get a sense of the scale. Then I used Doodle Studio 95, which is a plugin for Unity by Fernando Romano, and made tiny animated sketches of the characters, so I could decide on the design and placements before I started modeling them. A lot of my design for this game came from wanting to contrast non-camera angles, music, and mood with a very non-threatening, welcoming environment and cast of characters. I think a lot of that has to do with the gentle color scheme.